Hi everyone, I'm jingwen. Today I'm gonna talk about Simone de Beauvoir from the 1908 to 1986. Yeah. Actually, she was a French writer, intellectual, existentialist, philosopher, political activist, and feminist. Yeah, and her most famous quote is that one is not born, but rather becomes a woman. I will explain it later. Now I want to introduce more about her political activism and famous work. During the 1950s, Algeria's and Hungary's struggles for independence. She participated in these struggles, and during the 1960s, she engaged in the student movement in France and also condemned American foreign policy during the Vietnam War. And in the 1970s, um, she joined she joined the feminist movement and also the demonstrations for abortion rights and women's equality. Actually, in the 1972 interview with a German journalist, de Beauvoir declared that she really was feminist. She said that the most important thing women can do in their lives is work, so they can be independent. Work wasn't perfective, nor was it a solution to all problems, but it was the first condition for women's independence. Well, and then about her famous works. I think of her other works of fiction. Perhaps the best known is Les Miserables. Actually, it's a chronicle of the adapts of post-World War II intellectuals to live their marrying. I mean, educated elite status and engaged in political activism. She also wrote four books of philosophy. Um, and she also writes a number of essays and some of them book lengths. And I think the best known of which is the second sex. In 2009, a new English language translation of the second sex was published. Yeah. And also, several volumes of her work are devoted to autobiography. This includes memoirs of a dutiful daughter, the prime of life, force of circumstance, and also the all said and done. This book of work, beyond its personal interest, constitutes a clear and telling portrait of French intellectual life from the 1930s to the 1970s. Well, in addition to treating feminist issues, de Beauvoir was concerned with the issue of aging, which she addressed in A Very Easy Death, which was written in the 1964 on her mother's death in the hospital, and also in old age, a bitter reflection on society's indifference to the elderly. Yeah. And the next part, I want to talk about her crucial ideas. And the first sentence is that one is not born, but rather becomes a woman, just like I said, showed in the very beginning. Yeah, it means women aren't born; they are made. She means that there is no essential definition of womanhood. Women can be anything, but social norms work hard to fit them into a particular kind of femininity. These social norms are patriarchal and born out of the male gaze. The second sex argues that it's men who define what women should be. Because men have always had more power in society, the world looks the way men want it to look. And an obvious example is female beauty, right? And as for the second sentence, as an existentialist, de Beauvoir believed that people need to live authentically. I think our uh, people need to choose for themselves who they want to be and how they want to live. Because everyone has to create themselves. And the last sentence is that the work of feminism was to transform society and women's place in it. Well, today, the importance of contemporary feminism is particularly pertinent worldwide in the need to address issues of the gender pay gap, sexual harassment in the workplace and beyond, racial discrimination, and attacks upon a person's right to sexual freedom. Yeah, all of these issues are of concern to the feminist movement. Well, Simone de Beauvoir's life supported her thesis. The basic options of an individual must be made on the premises of an equal vocation for men and women, founded on the common structure of their being, independent of their sexuality. Well, I think it's Simone de Beauvoir who encourages that more and more women to go outside to find a job, to go outside to work, rather than just stay at home to take care of the elderly, their children, and clean the house and so on. Yeah, so I think she really promotes more female to engage in the uh, conservation of cultural materials, you know. And I think Jane is one of the Jane Fulton from 1942 to 2018. She's a famous female conservator. Actually, Jane Fulton devoted the last years of her life to saving forgotten Renaissance artists and promoting the study and the dissemination of women's art. In 2005, while living through a book at a book fair in Florence, he came across a 1,500-year work by the artist Plotilla Nelly. Jan led his restoration and ordered an investigation culminating in her 2009 book, Visible Women, The Forgotten Florentine Artist, which recognized the urgent need to restore thousands of forgotten works in museums and institutions that women's great heritage gables and vilified. In the same year, she founded the Progressive Women Artists Foundation, dedicated to saving and promoting the dissemination and restoration of works by women artists from the 15th to the 19th century. Jane from Indian police has long been associated with philanthropy, so she became involved in the creation of the library and preservation of the heritage. She also engaged in the female-led art restoration movement in Florence. Actually, Fulton contributed herself to restore the lost legacies and artworks of Florence's forgotten female artists, digging into museums, archives, and dusty deposits with her organization, Advancing Women Artists (AWA). Linda Falcon, the director of AWA, explains that the majority of restorers in Florence are in fact women, but that it wasn't always this way. The shift was caused by a devastating flood that struck in 1966, which led to the loss or damage of millions of artworks and books, including many masterpieces. A group of scholars, art students, and other art experts dubbed the Mud Angels flood to the city to help with the restoration effort, as did the so-called flood ladies, female artists who donated art to replace lost masterworks. In turn, they established a female-led network of experts. It was the first time women began wearing trousers in Florence. Falcon says. Women's liberation in Florence is deeply linked to the art restoration effort. Well, what was once a male-dominated field is now about 90% run by women. Fortunately, says today the city has more than 30 women working as restorers at its museums and men more in other key roles. The three top curatorial posts at Florence's Civic Museums Association are all held by women. But overall, restoration remains a poorly paid field in the art world, and Falcon says that in Florence, it became even more poorly paid when it became female dominated. So there's still a long way to go. Indeed, the problem isn't only funding restoration of the works, but getting women artists wall space in the city where so many better known male artists thrived. These women artists were also successful in their time. It's just a history that hasn't remembered them. Falcon says, it's not just about restoring the works of art, it's about restoring women's place in art history. Well, I think it's the feminist movement that has made more women involved in conservation and brought more attention to the works of outstanding female artists in history. Well, now I want to talk more about her visit to Curonian Spade. Actually, the Dusanias coastal restored recently decided to unveil a sculpture in need to commemorate a French philosopher Sartre's visit to the Curonian Spade resort in 1965, which has sparked a controversy. Mm, the decision to commemorate only Sade was being criticized by well-known women in Lithuania because Simone de Beauvoir visited this place with the set. Yeah, and this monument has become a paradox monument not to Sade, but to Lithuania's effort to eliminate women from the public discourse. Well, I think Simone de Beauvoir visit this place and um, made more people pay attention to this beat and also help to conserve this special heritage. During her journey, she visited this Annie's museum and made more constructive suggestions. So I think although some of the war has already passed away, she still has tremendous influence on the world. After all, in the cultural conservation industry, the wage inequality is also quite common. So I think we should continue to participate in the feminism movement to seek more benefits and fair treatment for women in the field of cultural conservation. And these are my references. The first page and the second page. Yeah, that's all. Thanks for listening.